Ladies and gentlemen, the undisputed killer king of the Cretaceous, Tyrannosaurus Rex!
Come on, Sam. There must be a soft side to the champ somewhere deep inside.
Allie, look out!
Help!
Grandpa studied dino bones. Sam and Allie loved just what he did. Oh, they really dug his work. Hunting on the internet for all the dino stories they could get. Oh, they really dug their work. Allie and Sam thought of a plan. Got a show on the cable station about dinosaur digs. What scientists think they're piecing it together. Bonehead Detectives of the PaleoWorld. Bonehead Detectives of the PaleoWorld.
Hey, everyone. The Boneheads are back.
That's my all-time favorite cousin, Allie.
I'm your only cousin, Sam.
And you're doing such a great job. It's time for another delicious and nutritious dinosaur mystery.
Today's question comes to us all the way from Paris.
Paris?
Paris, Illinois, that is. Linda Kocher writes, Dear Sam and Allie, my favorite dinosaur is Tyrannosaurus Rex. When I was a kid, I used to like Godzilla movies. Now that I'm in 4th grade, I want to know what T-Rex was really like. Who was the real T-Rex?
That's an awesome question, Linda. And yes, T-Rex was an awesome dino. So we're gonna make your question our equally awesome question of the day. Who was the real T-Rex?
He was the meanest, nastiest, baddest hombre to ever walk this planet.
A fugitive on the run from the laws of nature.
We've got everything you wanted to know about T-Rex, but we're afraid to ask. Wait a minute, we're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be here, Wyoming.
You're probably wondering what's so special about Wyoming. Well, this is where most of the clues about T-Rex have been uncovered. This is also home to dino detective extraordinaire, Bob Bacher.
Dr. Bob, can I ask you a few questions about T-Rex?
Sure.
Excellent.
You know, T-Rex isn't the biggest dinosaur. Brontosaurus is much bigger. T-Rex is not even the biggest meat eater. There are a couple of guys that have heads that are longer, but I'll tell you, T-Rex still wins the prize for being the meanest, strongest biter ever. When it clamped down on those huge teeth, it was crushing through bone like no other meat eater of any sort of any time. So T-Rex deserves its reputation. Not the biggest, but the meanest, the deadliest bite in the universe.
And here they go again, doing what they do best.
This time it looks like a family squabble.
These guys would fight anyone, including their brother and sister Rexes. But there has to be more to T-Rex than a mouthful of fangs.
Okay, then let's check out the latest from the fossil record.
Well, there's no better place to do that than out here in the Badlands of Alberta, Canada.
And here comes Bonehead Detective Phil Curry. Good thing, because he's a bona fide T-Rex expert.
And he's going to tell us why the Badlands are the best place to find T-Rex bones.
The thing that allows Tyrannosaurus to be preserved in this part of the world is the fact that they were living on a coastal lowland, and there was a tremendous amount of sediment coming in from the mountains that were rising to the west at that time. So there were large rivers running across the coastal lowland, and if the Tyrannosaurus body happened to fall in the water, then it had a very good chance of being buried complete. And fast burial is one of the most critical factors in terms of preserving an animal that large.
That means T-Rex bones lasted so long here because the water covered them so quickly.
Yep, layers of muck and sediment eventually turn them into fossils.
Back in T-Rex's day, this part of the world was covered with water. There was actually a sea running right through North America.
It was called the Niobrara Sea. There were also these rivers all over the place, so the chances of dying in the water and getting buried fast by the muck were pretty good.
And that's why this area is such a Tyrannosaurus gold mine. Check out all the different places where fossil clues were found.
Come on, Monsters like T-Rex lived all over the world, but this is still the only place for hardcore T-Rex groupies.
Hey, I know another place you can find T-Rex.
Oh yeah, Sammy? Where's that?
In a magical animated place, just around the corner.
Nothing like seeing an old friend.
Now let's get close to the bone for the real facts of the case. Hey, everyone remember the 3 parts of dinosaur history? Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous?
Now right here, good old evolution introduced a guy by the name of Eoraptor. He was a little dog-sized, 2-legged meat-eating machine.
And over the next 150 million years, Eoraptor evolved in a big, mean, and nasty way.
And the next thing you knew, you had yourself old T-Rex. He stomped onto the scene right here, about 68 million years ago. But after a few million years of kicking dino butt,
extinction went boom. And out went the lights.
But wait a second, Sammy. Let's move forward to the present. Or at least pretty darn close. The early 20th century.
It's hard to believe, but the first Tyrannosaurus Rex was only discovered about 100 years ago.
The very first bonehead detective on the case was named Barnum Brown.
The first T-Rex bone he ever saw was in an office. It was being used as a paperweight.
The fossil paperweight had come from a place called Hell Creek, Wyoming, so Bonehead Barnum loaded up the truck and went on the first ever T-Rex bone hunt.
It took him 6 years, but it was worth it. He put together the fossil clues to build the first real T-Rex.
Hollywood loved the idea of dinosaurs as much as museums did, and they took their version of T-Rex to the silver screen.
Now, no dino detective loves a good dino movie more than Dr. Bob Barker, but he wants to set the record straight on a few points. Like, what was T-Rex's world really like?
Well, right now, we dig up T-Rex and Triceratops in Wyoming and Montana and the Dakotas. These places are high. They're dry. They're really hot in the summer. They're incredibly cold in the winter with blizzards. That's now. But when T-Rex lived, it was flat and very low, and incredibly hot and humid nearly all year round and steamy. It was like the Gulf Coast of the U.S. right now. If you want to get an impression of what T-Rex was like when it was alive, go south. Go way south. Go way down to Louisiana. Go to New Orleans and still go south.
And Bonehead Phil Curry agrees.
By the time Tyrannosaurus was living in North America, most of the modern families of plants and animals had already appeared on the Earth. Consequently, the world that Tyrannosaurus lived in may not have been as foreign as we think it is. And you would have crocodiles and turtles and lizards and snakes and all these things. They would have been very familiar to us today. The difference would have been that the large animals, which today are large mammals, at that time would have been dinosaurs.
Gosh, Phil, as card-carrying mammal kids, that sounds like a pretty big difference to us. Next, we're gonna crack open the case on T-Rex's kids.
No good hunt for the real T-Rex would be complete without a look at life around the house.
We'll be right back.
And right on schedule, the Bonehead Detectives.
Welcome back, fellow boneheads.
And as promised, we're going to check in with the loudest family in the Cretaceous neighborhood.
That's right, we're keeping up with the Rexes, and Ken Carpenter will present his, excellent clues about T-Rex's childhood.
I have in front of me some dinosaur eggs from China, and these are very elongated, kind of the shape that we would expect for Tyrannosaurus Rex. To give you a feel for its size, I have here a chicken egg.
Careful, Ken, don't drop it.
But what's really exciting and very rare is this clutch of eggs here, which are very badly crushed. But we do have an embryo that's lying here. You can see the eye socket, the skull, the backbone in here, the pelvis, the hind leg. This embryo is about the size that we would expect for Tyrannosaurus Rex. We can imagine this hatchling coming out of the egg and scurrying off into the underbrush, or possibly, if there was parental care, it may have scurried off and joined its parents.
And picking up the mystery trail, my main man, Dr. Bob Barker, says he has fossil record proof that Mama and Papa Rex did look after their little ones.
You know, I've wondered for a long time whether a mother T-Rex would feed her chicks, or whether the baby T-Rex was on its own. Well, we have the proof right here in my museum. We have a relative of T-Rex called the Allie, and we know it chewed really big dinosaurs. This is a Brontosaurus hip bone, and it's been chewed and gnawed and cracked and scraped by adult allos. How do we know that? We find the broken teeth of the adult meat-eating dinosaurs. You see, meat-eating dinosaurs would chew and break a tooth off. But that was okay, new teeth would grow in. Those broken teeth tell you exactly who chewed what and when. So here's the adult going chew and gnash and claw and ruff, ruff, ruff. Well, we got other chew marks. Tiny little one right there, minute, like a pin was dragged across it. Who did that? This is really exciting. The baby dinosaur. Here's a guy, maybe 2 pounds, fresh out of the egg, chewing on the same giant bone that its mother did. So if you hatched out of the egg, and you're a T-Rex or an allo or raptor, your first meal would be provided by mom, and your first meal is steak. 6,000 pounds of steak.
Aw, look at little baby T-Rex. Isn't he cute?
I don't know about cute. Look kind of hungry to me.
Well, he's in luck. I think Mom's calling him in for dinner.
Talking about growing up big and strong. What did T-Rex eat to end up 40 feet tall?
Well, we asked our old pal Phil Curry to look into the answer to that question. He's out in the field opening up the paleo fridge to look at one of T-Rex's favorite snacks.
It was a plant-eating dino with the appetizing name Edmontosaurus.
Bone beds like this are a pretty good indication that many of the prey species for animals like Tyrannosaurus rex were in fact herding animals. These animals were herding probably because they were moving from region to region as food resources changed over the course of the year. I would suspect that the tyrannosaurs were in fact following these herds, and that the old individuals and that the young individuals that strayed too far from the herds were the most likely prey for the tyrannosaurs, and these are the animals they actively hunted down.
So the Edmontosaurs that got separated from the herd, like the very old and very young, didn't stand a chance.
But in order to catch up with the herd, the T-Rex would have to be pretty fast. I thought those big guys weren't very quick on their feet.
Sammy, that's an old idea and it's bunk. Next, more clues on the real T-Rex, the Cretaceous speed freak.
Don't go away. I'll be right back.
Here they come now, the Bonehead Detectives.
All right, now our search for the real T-Rex is going to take us into the fast lane.
Yep, Detective Phil Curry says even though T-Rex was huge, he was actually a lot faster than people used to think. Hey, Phil, how fast was T-Rex?
This animal is so big and so massive that for a long time, everybody thought that this had to be a slow-moving animal. In recent years, though, we've been looking more closely at the anatomy of the hind leg of these dinosaurs, and what we see is not necessarily what we expected to see. Now, in fast-moving animals like ostriches, the upper leg bone is relatively short compared to the lower leg bones. Tyrannosaurus, we see the same kind of pattern. All in all, then, if we look at the characters that we see in the hind legs of Tyrannosaurus, I don't think there's any question at all that, in spite of its massive size, this is an animal that was built for speed, and it's an animal that, in fact, could outrun any of its potential prey in its world.
Now check out this guy doing his best T-Rex impersonation, hungrily hunting his prey.
That's Jim Farlow. He's chasing emus and imagining what old T-Rex was like.
It would be nice to know what Tyrannosaurus was like as a living animal, but it's very inconveniently extinct. And if you want to get a picture of how it moved, what it might have been like when it was alive, it's helpful to look at modern animals that give us an approximation to something like Tyrannosaurus. And of such modern animals, I think the emu is about as good a model as one could hope to find. I suspect it's probably faster than Tyrannosaurus was. An emu in the wild can go, 50, maybe 60 kilometers an hour. Tyrannosaurus, obviously, we've no direct way of determining how fast it could go. But based on the calculations of the strength of its bones relative to the size of the animal, I would think that a good ballpark figure for the top speed of Tyrannosaurus might be something on the order of 30, 40 kilometers per hour.
Wait a minute. According to my magic metric converter, that's like 20 miles an hour.
Wow, I can't even ride my 12-speed that fast.
So we know T-Rex was fast, but that's not the only thing that made him scary.
Yeah, T-Rex had a nose, ears, and eyes designed for destruction.
Which brings us to the next question. What goes on inside that head?
The skull of Tyrannosaurus is very narrow in the snout region, which allows the eyes to face forward, giving it stereoscopic vision. In addition to that, the ears themselves are located in such a way that they should be able to pick up sounds in particular directions. The ears may not look very different from the other carnivorous dinosaurs externally, but internally there are a lot of changes that have taken place. This gives Tyrannosaurus rex a greater range of hearing capabilities. That is, the frequencies that it could hear were lower than what most other dinosaurs could.
So, they could hear better. But how does that help T-Rex in his everyday life?
Since Tyrannosaurus was probably hunting other dinosaurs, which were animals that probably made low sounds, the changes in the ear would allow it to hear those animals better and to hunt them down.
Run, little hadrosaurs! Run for your lives!
When I look in the jaws of Tyrannosaurus rex, I have little doubt about its predatory capabilities. These are jaws that are meant to do some pretty nasty work. Like other carnivorous animals, Tyrannosaurus rex has teeth that are curved backwards. And at the same time, the tips of the teeth, in fact, curve towards the center of the mouth as well. What this means is that these teeth are specialized in such a way that if the prey is in the mouth and is struggling, the only way for it to escape, really, is to go back further into the throat.
Back into the throat? That doesn't sound like an escape to me. More like a dead end.
Yeah, but don't get the idea that T-Rex had it easy.
Right you are. Just listen to what Dr. Bob had to say about life in the Cretaceous.
Here's a T-Rex, a male. Big guy. Look at these holes. These are wounds made by other T-Rexes. Here's a T-Rex tooth, fits in there. Bite. Bite. Here's a bigger wound. Probably a Triceratops horn went in there. Every T-Rex we dig has these wounds, and in life these would be oozing with fresh pus. But it gets worse. Around in the back. This is very scary. Here's the scruff of the neck of a T-Rex, and look at that bite mark. Somebody grabbed it and shook it like a rag doll. Probably another T-Rex, maybe its own mate. Every single big meat-eating dinosaur we dig is full of broken bones and punctures and gouges. They were gored by the plant eaters they were trying to eat. If you were a tyrant dinosaur king, you lived a short, violent life, and you died of multiple injuries, it was hard, it was painful, it was really, really tough.
Man, that was nasty. Even for the king, life in the dino days was sure a pain in the paleo butt.
But he was tough and could take it.
If he was so tough, why isn't he still around today?
Keep watching! For the clues to our final mystery in the case, we're on our way back to the Badlands.
This is where T-Rex had his final showdown. And it wasn't at the hands, or should I say horns, of Triceratops or a herd of nasty duckbills.
It was extinction.
And the question remains, why did the dinos go extinct?
But out here, there's a woman who's been finding excellent clues. That's Dino Detective Beth McIver, and she thinks the answer is in the rocks.
Cretaceous-Tertiary boundary is well defined in this outcrop right here where we've been digging.
The Tertiary is the time period right after the dinosaurs lived.
And that's the Cretaceous-Tertiary boundary right here. See how the dirt changes color?
But what does that tell us?
It tells us that something very specific happened at that time, geological time.
Something like a mega big, mega bad meteorite by any chance?
That's what a lot of us think. Beth is uncovering evidence that points to some kind of mega major change on our planet. And whatever it was, it finished off T-Rex and his pals.
Well, she should look at the fossil plants.
The fossil plants below the boundary tell us that there were lush forests existing in this region and throughout the prairie regions that we know as we know them today before the boundary. And right before the boundary, in some sediments that I have studied, we have a very typical cypress swamp, such as the bald cypress swamp that you would find down in southern parts of the United States. And above the boundary, there are no cypress trees. There's nothing in those remains above the boundary that tell us the cypress swamp was around. It was gone. So something happened at that boundary that was very dramatic. It leveled the forest. The standing vegetation was literally clear-cut in a sense.
And vegetation wasn't the only thing cut down in its prime. Every last T-Rex also died.
But even though the meteorite theory makes for great special effects, it's not accepted by all the bonehead detectives out there.
But we do know that about 65 million years ago, the meanest, nastiest king of the dinosaurs disappeared forever and ever.
And on that note, I'd say it's time to close the book on the tale of Tyrannosaurus Rex.
And the claws and teeth and all the other parts of him, too.
Yeah, let's get back to the studio. It's safer.
Because he's always there. Always watching.
That last look it gave me kind of freaked me out.
Oh, don't worry, Sam. He's safely paused. Well, Linda, you asked who was the real T-Rex, and I hope we all got to know him a lot better today. Thanks to Dino Ton for writing.
So from his humble beginnings as a paperweight back in the early 1900s...
all the way to the fame and glory he enjoys today, T-Rex was one killer dude. You know, I'm gonna nominate him for the Bonehead Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Dino Performance.
Well, wait a second. What about Detective Jim Farlow? Oh, come on. His impersonation of a T-Rex on the run was a performance for the ages.
Well, open it.
And the winner is... Jim Farlow!
Wait, who counted these votes?
Better luck next time, T-Rex.
Hey, Eddie, did you have anything to do with this? See you soon. You guys are crazy to snub T-Rex. I hope he doesn't get mad.
Oh, the wimpy arms can't bully me. Jim Farlow deserved to win. He knows even more about T-Rex than Mrs. T-Rex.
Yeah, but dude, man, T-Rex could eat Jim for brunch.
If he could catch him. Jim could just jump on an emu and get away.
Emus weren't around back then, doofus.
So what? Neither was Jim Farlow.
Got a point.
They don't call me Bonehead Sam for nothing.